everybody? Welcome to another fantastic episode of the JT Pit Stop. I am your host for the evening, Joe. Up there is Trevor, one of my best friends here. We're going to talk some NASCAR for you for, I don't know, however long this takes. Could be an hour, could be an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours. Hopefully not 2 hours, but we're gonna talk some NASCAR because we got a big weekend in Daytona to talk about. And at the end of the day, it was none other than Ricky Stenhouse himself that wound up winning the Daytona 500. Biggest race of the year. It's his third career win at Play Tracks. I was honored enough to be at his last win in person when he won in Daytona last time. So unfortunately, I wasn't there this time, but it was still cool to see that win. But that is just part of the story. It was a long road to the actual Daytona 500, and let's just say it started off really interesting. So the first thing we had was qualifying day, where all the cars brought their cars from the race teams and put as much setup as they could into them. And you had some teams that, built the car for handling, and some that decided they were just going to bring a rocket ship to Daytona. So this year, starting on the front row, we had Alex Bowman with the pole and Kyle Larson with the second position. So
HMS.
yep, Hendrick once again bringing the fire to Daytona, and not only that, but Alex Bowman with, I think it was like his ninth consecutive front row start in the Daytona 500,
Yeah, somewhere around there.
something like
Yeah.
that. So, Trevor, what did you think of our front row starters for this year's Daytona 500?
Dude, I loved it. I'm
Yeah,
an HMS fan. Yeah, all the way. Loved it. I thought it was cool.
yeah,
Why not? Uh, 48. I think it's his what is it? Fourth or fifth straight year. Ever since he got in the 48 car, he's just been ticking. Well, the 88, right? I
yeah. It
think it
was the
was
88,
40.
then it got rebranded
Yeah.
to the 48. Yep,
Yeah, so I think that's when he started, and like it's almost every year at Daytona he comes off front row.
yep,
It's either him or William Byron, I think, for like the past 4 or 5 years or something.
yeah,
That's pretty cool. Yeah,
yeah. No, it was
I
good.
was happy.
There were a couple issues in qualifying though. The 50 car for Connor Daly, put together by the money team, they rolled off pit road and were just like bouncing like crazy. I don't know if you saw that or not.
No,
Yeah, they just like they rolled off pit road and they're just like bouncing up and down and just couldn't get going. The 13 had issues in qualifying; they couldn't get that car going, and then Kyle Busch actually got DQ'd in the second round of qualifying because he decided to go below the yellow line on the front stretch and kind of cut that corner a little bit. And so he wound up having to start last of the second round qualifiers. So qualifying was interesting this year. Um,
yeah,
it had issues, and we had once again Hendrick on the front row, and then we rolled off for the duels. So the duels were interesting. The first duel had no on-track incidents. It was what we refer to as the calm duel. Usually you have a calm duel and a chaos duel. And the first duel I actually found was really interesting because the different strategies that were put in play by the different manufacturers.
yeah.
You had the Chevrolets, they pit early. They tried to kind of split the race in half. But because of just the way they got formed up and just not having that overall lack, like they had a lack of speed compared to the Fords and Toyotas. During the course of the run, the Ford group was actually able to almost get caught up to them and almost pass them.
Yep.
So when the Fords did eventually pit, the Chevrolets were cycled like 12, 13 seconds back, and they could not get going. Um,
Yeah, I thought it was weird.
yeah, so unfortunately in that first duel, like all of the Chevrolets were kind of they had to start at the back of the race because they just couldn't get caught back up with that main pack. And then we wound up with Joey Logano won duel number one. Yeah, I know, but that's kind of what happens when it's the Fords are the group that's up there. You knew it was going to
Yeah,
be a Ford driver that wound up winning that first duel, and
yeah,
it was Joey Logano, who is just an incredible plate racer. He's one of the best
yeah.
out
He
there,
is.
and
Yep.
he got the dual win. And Zane Smith raced his way into the Daytona 500 in duel number one,
That
and
was
Jimmy
sweet.
Johnson got in based on his qualifying time being the
Yep.
fastest of the qualifiers in that duel. So, Trevor, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you think overall of duel number one?
I mean, it was a calm race. It wasn't really much to watch. You know,
Right.
I thought it was weird how the Chevys came in and just didn't really have as much speed as you would think with them having as much speed as they had in qualifying. You would think
Yeah.
that they were going to do good in the race. Just didn't seem like they really had the speed that all of those Fords had, but there was like a lot of Fords, and I'm pretty sure the Toyotas went with the Fords instead of the Chevys,
Yeah.
like typical. Um, and it was just like, man, this is, once they got strung out like that, they just stayed single wide. It was just kind of a follow the leader type thing, and I'm not a big Joey fan, so I wasn't real happy that he won.
Yeah. I figured as much. So out of that duel, the 13 car of Chandler Smith failed to qualify for the Daytona 500. Unfortunately for that third colleague car.
Yep.
So that was a bit of a bummer, but happy for Zane Smith and Jimmy Johnson being able to get in the field. That was really cool to see those guys out there in the main 500. Duel number two. This was the chaos. This I forgot to
Yes.
mention it, but in duel number one, Alex Bowman obviously having the pole position. He didn't race at all in that
No.
first duel. He just got out of
He
it.
just got out
He
right
just
as
got
soon as
out.
they waved. Yep. I'm
But
out.
contrary to that, Kyle Larson decided he was going to go racing
Yeah.
in duel number two, and that almost cost him.
Yep.
that almost cost him. So right off the in duel number one, we had a quick yellow for a debris. It looked like a window had blown off of one of the cars. And that was kind of what set up some interesting strategy in duel number two, because you had some guys come in and get some fuel and just kind of shuffled the running order around at first. And then right about, it was lap 41 was kind of when we had the big incident of the duel. Kyle Busch was out leading the pack in duel number two, and he got a really bad bump from Daniel Suarez, and it just hooked him into the outside wall. And Kyle Busch wound up having to go to a backup. But what was really interesting was the 62 and the 67 both got caught up in that wreck. Both drivers trying to race their way into the Daytona 500,
Yeah.
caught up in the wreck, unable to finish the dual race, which allowed the 50 car, which we had already talked about having all these issues in practice. They even had issues in the duel as well. They just could not get going. And, but they made it in by just being away from everybody and
Right.
not being caught up in the wreck. So
Yeah.
that was kind of cool for Connor Daly to race his way into the Daytona 500 in the duels. I wish he would have had a better ride, because that 50 car was like the worst car that showed up to Daytona. I haven't seen a car show up that unprepared in so long. It
Yeah,
was just
dude.
a
That's.
myriad of problems for that team. Um, but coming down to the finish, I know we talked about Kyle Larson having a big moment there. He was pushing the 38 of Todd Gilliland into, I think it was turn number one, and just pushes him so squirrely. He gets down onto the apron, saves the car. I was
Yep.
honestly impressed that Todd Gilliland saved that car, as out of shape as it was. He gathered it back up and just almost caused a big mess, but they kept it green. And Eric Almirola wound up winning the duel, which
Another
was,
Ford.
yeah. So Ford swept the duels once again this year. Last year we had, it was one team that swept the duels, RFK Racing. This year it was
Yep.
two different teams, but the same manufacturer. So, this is the second year in a row we're seeing, Chevrolet comes out, they bring up the raw speed, they qualify in the front row, but those Fords, they just race so well and put themselves in position to the duels. So, what did you think of Blue Green Vacation Duel number two?
It was all right. It was definitely exciting. I
Yeah.
I was I was kind of upset to see what happened to Kyle Busch. I
Yes.
mean, he was really fast. He came from the back up to the front, raced his way up there for the most part. He was just he he had a really good car this year in Daytona.
Yes.
Uh for the duels. Um since we're talking about that. And yeah, I was surprised with Todd Gilliland also. I thought that was going to be a wreck It wasn't
Yes.
as crazy. And go Eric Almirola.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, way to go. But I think that what you've seen with Daniel Suarez pushing Kyle Busch, I expected to see a lot worse in the 500
Yes.
than I think what there was, but it was still trouble with these cars pushing, and it seemed more that the Chevys are the harder ones to push a car than any other manufacturer.
Yeah, because last year the Chevrolets had a very pointed nose, and I
Yep.
know all the teams did some body modifications this year. So Chevrolet really worked on that nose a little bit so they can get some better pushes. But they still have that like little bit
Yep.
of a point that if you
Right.
push in the wrong spot, it just kind of concentrates all that energy into one spot, and turns cars around. We saw a lot of that last year, not so much this year. But moving on, we've got the actual Daytona 500. Um, I thought the race itself was really good. There was a lot of stuff going on throughout the race. Um, right off the bat, we had a quick caution pretty early in the race. Lap 27, the 77 of Ty Dillon blew up. Motor issues brought out the first yellow of the race, which actually set up. Everybody was able to come in and get fuel and really race out that
Right.
that whole first stage, which
Yep.
got really interesting. It was a little frustrating at first because it kind of felt like when they took off, it was just two rows, and it's just like wherever you were at, that's where you were riding. We see that same issue again this year where you just it's really hard to get that third lane going to
Yep.
actually move yourself through the pack. You kind of got to wait for someone to get kind of stalled out and stuff. Um, but we did have a quick sequence of green flag pit stops there in the first stage. The Toyotas had a very short pit stop. They cycled out in front of everybody during that cycle of green flag pit stops. But at the end of the day, it was Brad Keselowski winning
Yeah.
stage number one.
How you like that, Joe?
Yeah, it was pretty good. And then on route to that, Bubba Wallace got put into the fence by the 19.
Yeah.
And I think that was another
Well, was
situation.
it by the 19 or the 11?
No, it was the 19.
It
Yeah,
came off. He came off of his bumper, but I mean,
yeah,
if you when you watch that incident, right? Like you got the 23 and the 19, and then the 11.
yeah,
And the 11 is pushing the 19 up to the 23, and when he got to the 23, there was no lift
yeah,
until the 23 is cocked sideways heading towards the wall, and then you watch
yeah,
the flames come out of the 19, and at that point the 11 still didn't have any flames pop out yet.
yeah,
Like, I mean, he still wasn't lifting as the 23 was off. That's why
yeah.
I was saying, like, do you think it was actually, now granted, obviously it came off of the 19, right?
Right.
But would you say that Truex was at fault, or would you say
I
Denny
mean,
was at fault?
I wouldn't really say anyone was necessarily at fault. I think it was just a bad
Uh,
push.
yeah, that's
Um, but yeah, obviously with the 11 just pushing the 19 into the
yeah,
23, there's really not much that Truex could have done
right, yeah,
to avoid that, and it
yeah,
was just the speed of the bump, and it unfortunately turned the 23 into the wall,
yep,
which fortunately did not cause a big crash. He kind of got into the wall, was able to keep it up there, get cycled back around, just come in, and they kind of worked on that car throughout most of the day. But I mean, with the damage they had, that car was not a factor much at all for the rest of the race after that contact. And then coming to the
that
finish of
toe
this,
link in the rear.
yeah, they broke the toe link on that. Coming to the finish, we had a very interesting moment with AJ Allmendinger. I don't know if you saw this one, but the field was catching him to put him a lap down,
Yeah,
and he decided to just jump right into the middle,
yeah,
and just stacked everybody up so that he could beat the 23 to the lucky dog.
yep.
In that final pit stop there, and that chaos scattered the pack, which allowed Brad Keselowski to get through there and win the stage. What'd you think of that move? I was watching that. I'm like, that's a dicey move, but that's definitely a move that AJ Allmendinger would do.
I mean, at first you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
AJ, why are you doing this? Then you realize, oh, he's racing the 23, which is not far away
Right.
for the lucky dog position. I'm like, all right, I get it. Kind of, you know, some really good heads up racing on not going a lap down. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's AJ Allmendinger. Of course, that's something that he would just, I don't care. You're going to have to go
Yeah.
around me, like I remember I think it was Clint or something. He was like, lap cars aren't supposed to do that. You're supposed to go to the bottom or the top. And, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay,
The
yeah, all right,
the
yeah,
respectful thing to do is to go to the top or the
yeah,
bottom and hold the lane.
right,
But AJ's like, nah, I need this
nah,
spot. It's
right,
like,
yeah,
I'm going to go in the middle. You guys can draft around. I'll get that side draft from both sides. Keep that
yeah, F you,
momentum up.
dude.
And that
I'm
kept,
staying here.
yeah, that wound up keeping him in front of the 23, who was just riding at the end of that lead pack
Yep.
at that point. He got the lucky dog, and it just split the field. All craziness broke out. And that allowed the 6 car to get up there and win the stage. So,
Which was brilliant.
yes. Oh,
Because the way that happened, it was
yeah.
just. I
Well,
think
and
before they even caught the lap cars, he was running towards the front, but he wasn't
well,
really in
I
contention to win that stage.
I think a lot of that came down to his guy up on the tower, TJ
Oh,
Majors.
TJ Majors,
Yeah, he probably is like, they're catching AJ Allmendinger. Like, he's gonna do something to try to get this, so he's just like, watch for the scatter, and
Right.
he timed that move perfectly.
Yep.
Jumped to the outside, just drove right around everybody, and wound up winning the stage. So that's really cool for the 6 team to come out,
Yep.
win a stage. They got a playoff point and got some points there. In stage 2, we had our first big crash of the day. I was a little miffed about this one because the broadcast was like, oh, we're going to go side by side. And as soon as they jump to side by side, the wreck is breaking out. And we're sitting there just like watching all these cars scatter. And it's just like, oh, we're still watching commercials.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
Come on, Fox.
so like, I feel like I'm crazy for thinking this, but I really remember this time when you would watch these broadcasts, and even during a commercial break, if a caution or something would happen, they'd cut the commercial break back,
Yep.
show you exactly what's going on, break it down, and then while they're under caution,
Go back to commercial.
they go back and finish the commercial break. And
Right.
I remember, like, this is like from back in the day. I forget how long ago, because like I don't remember the last time it actually happened.
Probably, I'd say almost 12 years ago.
Yeah, 12 years ago.
Last time I remember it happened.
Adam in chat says Larry Max said full commercials they would break through, but side by side they can't.
Really?
But I actually find that more frustrating that you can't break up the side by side commercial, because like
Yeah.
if you're watching like a full screen commercial break, most people are like off getting like a refill on drinks, grabbing some chips, running to the restroom.
Yeah.
It's like, we got commercial break. Like, I'm not gonna watch these. And then you
Right.
come back and it's like, oh, there's a wreck, and then you get the immediate breakdown. But like when you're stuck watching the side by side with it, you're just like, the hell is this?
Yeah.
like you're just like, what happened? Like, because it was like, it was so perfectly timed, because they're like, we'll go side by side, and you see the whole pack, and then like as soon as that small window comes up, there's just like smoke and fire and everybody's wrecking. But that one was a bad bump from Kevin Harvick that turned the 45 into the field, and it collected like everybody.
Yeah, it collected a lot of good cars.
Yeah.
And that was, Kevin Harvick is a very great plate racer.
Yes.
And the way you used to bump people was by sitting off on that right hand side, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you would just be kind of sitting here, and now, you do that, and they're spinning around. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, it's interesting because like we were seeing when they were being pushed on the straightaways, the cars would hook to the right. But when you
Right.
push in the corners, it's hooking the cars down to the left.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that wreck took out Tyler Reddick in the 45. It took out Eric Jones in the 43, and it also took Chase Elliott out of the race as well.
Yeah, I was pissed about that one.
Yeah, and I know. It's just like, there he goes.
Yeah.
And the 12 also got some heavy damage, but that never took him out of the race. That 12
He kept
car
going.
just kept going. And it's crazy because, like, I was at the Daytona Summer Race last year, and the same type of thing happened with that 12 team. They were caught up in, like, the very first crash in the day, but
Yep.
they just kept going. They kept working on the car, they kept fixing it, they kept meeting minimum speed and kept fixing it. And just keeping that car alive for the whole race was the difference between the 12 car and the 19 making the playoffs last year.
Yep.
I would say there isn't a team out there when it comes to determined repairs than that 12 team right now, because this is the second time I've seen it in this play track where they take a car that is just totally junked and they were able to just patch the thing together within the 7.5 minute damage vehicle policy clock and just keep that car on the track, keep it running, and just go. So I was, shout out to the 12 team for just keeping that car put together for the entire race with heavy damage from that crash.
I didn't even feel like the 9 car had as much damage as the 12 car did.
I don't think they
I
did
mean,
either.
they must have had some suspension damage
Yeah.
or like a tie rod or spindle or something that just got messed up that they knew they couldn't repair in the 7.5 minutes. But
Well, I
like
mean,
it
to be fair,
didn't
the
look
nine
bad.
took a big shot to the left rear.
Oh, okay.
So I think there was definitely some suspension damage because the body of the nine didn't look terrible.
No.
But I think all the damage on the nine was under the body work with the suspension and stuff. But outside of that, the rest of stage two was more or less pretty calm outside of that wreck.
Yep.
And it was none other than Ross Chastain that went out and won stage number two,
Barely.
just
By
barely
inches.
by inches. Yep, it was a drag race to the line.
Yep.
Ross Chastain wins stage two, gets himself a playoff point. However, Ross Chastain decided to do Ross Chastain things, and in the pit stop for the stage break, he got a speeding penalty.
Yep.
So all that track position they had worked so hard, won the stage, it just sent him all the way to the back. Um, it was kind of funny. So after we went green, we actually had a quick caution right away, lap 140, after going green from the stage, because debris was falling off of the 12 car.
Yep.
Which I believe we talked about this in the preseason show with the damaged vehicle policy clock. Is that NASCAR put they put this thing in place to help prevent cars going out on track and dropping debris. Well, what does the
Right.
12 team do? They just hodgepodge the car together, meet minimum speed, and parts are falling off the car.
Yeah.
I mean this damaged vehicle policy was supposed to prevent these types of cautions from taking place, but
Uh-huh.
like we talked about, it's just exasperating them. I think that's
Right.
the right word. I think that's the right word. I
It
don't know.
sounds smart.
It sounds like a smart word. Yeah. But yeah, it's increasing these cautions. Just because of
Tire
the
carcass laying on the bottom of the corner.
yeah, just the tire falls off because the car wasn't properly.
Right.
It was fixed enough to meet minimum speed, but
Right.
it wasn't fixed enough to meet the safety standards that we
Yep.
have. Um,
Yep.
which this rule was supposed to fix, but it did not. Shortly after that, we got to lap 182, and we had a big one right after some green flag pit stops, and this one took out a lot of cars. This one took out. We got the
Almost
40.
half the field at that time.
Yeah, this was like half the field that got wiped out in this one. The 41, the 34, the 19, the 4, and the 14. Um, I didn't see exactly what had caused that. I think it was a bad bump from somebody. Did you happen to
No.
catch that one?
Yeah. So that one, was kind of Noah Gregson's fault.
Okay.
Um, he was off pace. The field had caught him, and it looked as though the car had wiggled. You know, kind of like
Yeah.
when you're like out there in our sim world and you got these cars that kind of come by you and you're just like, oh god, what do I do?
Yeah.
Being Noah Gregson, the rookie, he kind of did that, and your boy Keselowski was coming up on the outside, and when the car moved like that, he kind of went up the track,
Yeah.
and kind of checked up at the same time that he went up, well, that kind of freaked the world behind him out,
Yeah.
and that's where the bad bump started coming in, and then it was just like it was kind of a chain reaction out of that
Yeah.
one move
Right.
from Brad going up to kind of get out of the way of what was going on with Gregson.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, the ensuing restart after that, we saw some like this was shaping up to be like a classic Daytona 500 finish. You had the
Right.
RCR cars teamed up, you had the
Yep.
RFK cars teamed up, and then you had a bunch of other random teams that were, trying to beat these two teammates that were working together. And
Yeah.
we were coming up on two to go, and Jimmy Johnson spins out the 99. 99 gets caught in the grass and stuck, and that sets us up for a green white checker overtime finish at the Daytona 500, which has actually sparked a lot of discussions I've seen floating around about, do we need to keep doing green white checkers? Should we go back to old school where the race just ends?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
That that really is a tough one, right? I think at the Daytona 500, it's hard to say one way
Yeah.
or the other, right? I
Look,
love watching.
because I've seen discussions because the ARCA series has a special rule where, like, no matter what, the race has to end under green, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
NASCAR doesn't do that.
No.
If a caution comes out on the white flag, we freeze the field and end the
And
race.
it's over.
And I think that's kind of where this discussion is coming from, because we're stuck with these finishes, and we'll talk about the Daytona 500 in a little bit, because we gotta cover the green white checkers and the
Right.
drama that happened there.
Right.
But we have it where NASCAR just freezes the field, and then the race just ends under yellow, despite going into that overtime to try to get a green flag finish.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things like, well, if we're gonna end the race under yellow anyway, which is
Might as
usually
well.
what happens on these super speedways, why not just call the race at the scheduled race distance
Right.
and
And
save
and
these
that
teams from wrecking all these cars?
yeah, but that's why it's hard for me to answer this question,
Right.
right? If you're gonna have a green white checkered, then it has to finish under green,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Okay. Um. The
Yeah, the
I
overtime line was stupid. We're not doing that. That was the worst.
Adam.
Yeah, Adam in the chat's like, we don't need to bring back the OT line. Yeah, no,
No,
that was the worst.
no. The thing is, I feel like if you're gonna have green white checkers, then it's the ARCA rule. It's got to
Yeah.
finish under green. The Clash was the same way. It's got to finish under green. I also think that you should only have a green white checkered if you're gonna do it like that.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, if it's not gonna be under green,
Yeah.
then only have one.
Right.
Okay, like don't come around. Oh, if we didn't get the white flag, well, 9 out of 10 times something's not gonna happen on that green flag lap because there's nothing going on that initial start because they're not up to speed. There's no energy built up. There's no
Yeah.
nothing yet. Uh, if you're gonna have the green white rule, make it the green white under green.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, in most tracks, like, the green white checker rule works fine. Like,
Right.
because
Yeah.
but it's specifically with these super speedways, because it takes them a lap and a half to get
Right.
going, and it seems like every time there's a green white checker at a super speedway, the wreck is on the backstretch on
Yep.
the last lap.
Right.
And so what you're having is these teams that are racing to just this unknown finish line
Mhm.
somewhere down the backstretch.
Wherever they hit the button too.
Yeah, it's wherever they
It's
hit the
not even
button.
a timing score
Yeah,
anymore. Like it used to be a timing loop. They
yeah,
would go back to the timing loop and where that was. Now it's wherever we hit the button.
yeah,
And I think we've seen that in another race this weekend where it was
yeah,
kind of like, how do we know, us fans, right?
yeah,
How do we know when you hit that button?
Right.
How do we know how you're officiating this at this point in
Well, yeah,
time?
because
Before it was a timing loop.
they're like it's not the lights, it's when they hit the button, but the lights don't come
Right.
on when they hit the button, and it's I don't know, like it's starting to get frustrating. So like I don't necessarily want to see them just rack them and stack them like 20 fucking times to get the race in,
No,
because
no.
you don't want to see that. But
There's got to be a limit.
yeah, there's got to be some kind of limit that you're getting a fair finish every single time at these races. But you know that's it's just the discussion that's been popping around is like, is it time to change the restart rules? So I mean, I'm okay with where we're at, but I just think that like the way these super speedway races keep ending is just like different,
Bogus.
you know?
It's bullshit.
Yeah,
I mean, I felt like it this weekend. It was.
yeah, yeah. Because we saw that in the Xfinity race and the Cup
Well, I
race.
wasn't gonna say that, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that when we get there. They did release a an actual like official photo for the Xfinity race,
Yeah,
which is
whatever.
interesting. But we'll get to that when we finish this. So let's get back on topic real quick. Let's talk about the finishes. So, the first green white checker finish we had, you had the RCR teammates and the RFK cars. They grouped back up to each other. Kyle Busch took the outside, Austin Dillon took the inside, and they did a teammate restart. And Austin Dillon let Kyle Busch in, which unfortunately just completely messed up that inside line. They lost all the momentum because they were trying to do that type of restart, which unfortunately wound up leading to the 3 car getting spun in the middle of the pack
Yep.
and took out like everybody. Like
Everybody else.
there's like only like 3 or 4 cars that had made it through there unscathed at that point, which you know was the product of not just a green white checker to super speedway, but a green white checker finish at the Daytona 500. You know,
Right.
this is everybody like nobody's lifting, everybody's just pushing each other,
With the
and
choose rule, why would they do that?
yeah, and I was really confused about that too because like I got why they were doing that, but if they really wanted to keep that momentum up, they would have been way better off lining up directly behind each other and just pushing right off
Right.
the bat,
Yeah.
because you know we saw it. They did the teammate restart and lost all that momentum on the bottom.
Because Dylan didn't go.
Yeah,
And then they gave all of that momentum to the 22 and the 47 and the 5.
yeah,
Like it just did not make any sense at all. If and I was like flabbergasted when I found out. Like when I
yeah,
was watching that final one, I was like, "All right, we may actually see Kyle Busch or Austin Dillon
yeah,
win this race." I felt like they were pretty much the best cars at the end of that race.
yeah,
It,
yeah. And
granted,
Adam's right in the chat here. It says I would have stayed side by side so one of them won, which is you know when I first saw them pick the outside lines, I'm like, oh, they're not going to work together. I like
yeah,
that was my reaction, is like, okay, so
right.
they're not going to work together. Are they going to just control the race? But then they did the teammate drop down issue, and I was just like,
See,
you
I
just threw
get
the race away for both of them at that point.
right. I get where Adam's coming from. Right,
Yeah,
where like you stay side by side, at least one of us wins.
yeah,
But when you have Joey Logano
right.
and Ricky Stenhouse
And
on
Brad Keselowski.
in a lane together, yeah, but I think Brad was back more.
Yeah,
Because I'm pretty sure it was 22, 47, 5 on
yeah,
the outside, right?
yeah. Because the 6 and the 17 lined up behind the 24 on the bottom.
Yeah. So you have those two guys, right? The 22 and the 47.
Yeah,
You have them two together. For one, they're magnificent fucking plate racers. Each of them in themselves. I don't really like either one, but when it
right.
comes to plate racing, they're both really good at the knack that they have for that type of racing.
Yeah,
It would be a hard duo to beat, but knowing Ricky Stenhouse and Joey Logano, they're both selfish enough where they would start racing each other and probably go 3 wide.
yeah.
And then Kyle, you have your teammate right there behind you. Like, I mean, I don't think that anybody could have got around them to where they could have raced it out coming out of turn 4.
Yeah.
And had a drag finish, side by side finish going to the end. I just don't understand why they would ever do that. If I could ever choose to start behind you or another teammate like that in iRacing or
Yeah.
race side by side, there's no way in hell I'm not going where you're going,
Right.
type of thing. That's just not. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't care who I'm racing. Like,
Yeah.
you know, teammates can usually work together and push together and
Yeah.
get a lot better than two non-teammates. And
Right.
that's what you had. Was two non-teammates versus two teammates. And
Yeah.
three Chevys versus a Ford and two Chevys.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, right then and there, Joey Logano wouldn't have won the race because pretty sure Kyle would have went with Stenhouse like he did
Yeah.
coming down the backstretch, and I mean, it was just a stupid restart.
Yeah. So that wreck took out like a bunch of cars. So we stacked them up again, and this is the restart that wound up ending the race. We're coming, off of turn 2, and Travis Pastrana, brand new to racing this type of racing, he gets a bad bump in the middle of the pack, turns him down the track. He hooks Larson, turns him into the outside wall, and that just hooks everybody. Like everybody else that was left that wasn't ahead of them was swept up in this wreck. Like
Yep.
every single person. It was just absolute chaos. So I know that's why they threw the yellow, because it was a safety issue. You had some guys that took some very nasty hits in that crash, which everybody was okay, by the way. Infield Care Center reports said everybody was okay, which is good. But then you had that situation. Yeah, the 5, the 6, and the 11 took nasty hits. And then, they went back and they had to look, when did we hit the button? Who was ahead? And they had determined that Ricky Stenhouse had won the race. And he is our Daytona 500 champion and the first person to punch their ticket into the Cup Series playoffs, which completely broke all of our predictions from last week. Nope, none of us had predicted Ricky Stenhouse to be in the playoffs. Ricky Stenhouse is in the playoffs. So,
never would have done it.
Yeah, in hindsight, it's like, oh yeah, that would have made sense to put Ricky Stenhouse in the playoffs. But
yeah, no.
But I mean, at the same time, technically, he's the first one in. But if we happen to get 16, 17 winners this year, that could move him out just as easily. So
yeah, that kind of screws my picks. Period.
Yes.
Because I put Gregson in there, and I don't think Gregson's
no, it's probably not
race, but you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin Harvick did it.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson won a race his rookie season.
Yeah. No, he didn't win the championship his rookie season.
Huh?
He didn't win his rookie season.
He won a race.
Oh yeah, he won a race. He didn't win the championship. Okay. I got it.
Edit that part out later on, okay? That way I don't look retarded, but no, he won a race in his rookie season. There.
Yeah.
Full disclosure.
But I mean, we haven't really seen rookies winning races.
No, I mean we haven't, but you never know. I mean, plate race. Martinsville, somewhere, where it's not. I don't think he's gonna go out and win a mile and a half, but hey, I mean, you never know, dude. He's pretty decent at Darlington. He's pretty decent at riding the wall. Yeah. So there's Kansas, Vegas. I mean, there are tracks where his style can, if he can go out there, and he did good in the Kaulig car when he was running in the Kaulig car. So
and he did good filling in for Bowman when he was sitting out as well.
Right, yeah. So it's not that he is a complete rookie.
Yeah. I will say this. What's interesting about the rookies this year is both Ty Gibbs and Noah Gragson both did a lot of part-time racing last year.
Right.
So they've already got multiple cup starts while they're
Yep.
racing for the Rookie of the Year, which I think is going to help them in terms of increasing the odds of winning a race as a
Right.
rookie. So
Yeah. I mean, I almost had Ty Gibbs in there, but I just
yeah,
couldn't. I couldn't. I didn't feel like it was a right pick.
yeah,
You know, I mean it, but
yeah.
you,
I mean, we talk.
he
There's 25 guys out there that could win a race. You know,
right, yeah,
it's
any
hard to
given week,
pick 16. So,
right.
what did you overall think of the Daytona 500?
I mean, I spent a lot of time looking at my phone and snowmobile parts, to be honest, because
Yep.
it's not the Daytona 500 I remember growing up watching as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, there was very little three wide action. There was very, and I don't mean to put this the wrong way with the broadcast or the broadcasters, or, you know, I love listening to Mike Joy and Clint
Hmm.
Boyer and Tony Stewart and everything, but I just didn't feel like there was the excitement
You know, I
in the
was thinking the
in the
same thing.
commentary,
Like
right? Like,
there seemed to be just like, you know, usually like Daytona 500 has like all this energy, and
right?
it just seemed like there wasn't a lot of energy there. I
No,
mean, you saw when that last crash happened, when Pastrana got turned and caught Larson,
yeah,
the broadcast was just like, oh, and they're wrecking. Oh, there we go. Like there
yeah.
was just like there was like it's the final
That's
wreck at
the
the Daytona
race.
500,
Yeah.
like the stretch. Like there was no energy there. The
No.
broadcast itself was filled with technical difficulties. At one point early in the race, they were like, "Let's look at the onboard telemetry on Kyle Larson," and it said it had 6 gears in the car. Like,
Yeah.
and on top of that, every time they cut to an onboard for replay, the audio was so out of sync. And they're
Yep.
just like, oh, yeah, look at him. He's just going wide open. It's like, you can clearly see the car is slowing down, but the
Right.
audio is saying that he's just wide open. And
Yeah.
it's just
He just
over and
went in
over.
there wide open.
Yeah.
No, no,
Like,
no.
the broadcast had so many issues. And on top of that, like, so one thing that I found was really weird is Ricky Stenhouse wins the Daytona 500, gets out of his car, and he didn't have that energy. Like
I
he did
mean,
not seem like super excited, you know?
he definitely wasn't as excited as when Jimmy Johnson won his, or, you
Yeah.
know, like, I mean, it's just it's I don't know anymore about the yeah, there just wasn't any. I guess what I'm trying to say is there just wasn't the energy that I felt from the
Yeah.
Daytona 500. I mean, it's I don't know what to do, or the broadcast, in my opinion, sucked. I
Yes.
mean, to put it any other way, it's just is a crap broadcast, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, there was just so much misinformation coming out through the broadcast and
Yeah.
just that overall just like lack of energy.
And it's
And
Fox, dude. They've been
yeah.
doing this forever. What the fuck is your problem?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, uh, I don't understand. Like, even I watched the first half of the Super Bowl, and I thought I think Fox needs to get out of sports.
Yeah.
Okay, like that's kind of where I feel about this. Like, Fox, you suck at the news and you suck at life. Period. I
Mhm.
guess the only thing you really got going on right now is the animated series of The Simpsons and that stuff. Because other than that, like, I didn't like watching the Super Bowl. I really didn't care for watching the Clash. I didn't feel like that was a great broadcast in the Clash. But I was
Yeah.
like, it's the Clash. Whatever. It doesn't
Right.
really matter, you know. And then come to the Daytona 500, it's like I don't even want to watch this. Like,
Yeah.
you know, the commentary isn't pulling me into it. And on top of that, when I watched that crash, I think it was where they went on with Chastain or
Yeah.
something, and it was just like, wah! And I'm like, what is going on? Like, you clearly see the hand go over and start shifting down, and it's
Yeah.
just still wide open, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden 4 seconds later, you hear the downshift. I'm
Yeah,
like,
the audio was out of sync all over the place with the onboard cameras. There was misinformation, and I think a lot of this came from Clint Boyer just doesn't have that energy he had. which
No.
I think it like Campbell was like too much energy at times, but now he's just there's like no energy. Like
Right.
just there was nothing more disappointing than that final call for the Daytona 500 when they're wrecking racing for the win. Is like, oh, he turned. That's
Yeah.
it. And it was just like, what the hell kind of call was that?
Yeah.
Like for the Daytona 500, it was just disappointing all the way around with the broadcast. But as far as the racing goes, I thought the racing was fine. It could have been absolutely better, um, but I thought the racing was okay.
Meh. Well,
So
we agree to disagree.
yeah,
On that. I don't. I wasn't a big fan of it. You know,
yeah,
I didn't feel like there was a ton of action like there should be at the Daytona or any super speedway.
yeah,
I mean, bring back the little wicker bill across the top. I've been saying it for years now.
yeah,
Like, bring that thing back, punch big holes, make big energy runs, and
yeah.
make a big pack again.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it's just a product of Daytona getting old. I mean,
yeah,
we've had this pavement now for what, over 10 years, I think,
yeah.
since the last time they
2011, it was repaved.
yeah, so 12 years. It's starting to get old. They're starting to
But
have to build handling
but
into the
you
cars.
would think having to build handling into it would make it better. It's entirely the aero on the car
I mean,
that
it
is
could be,
that is
right?
preventing
But
them from being able to race three wide.
well, there's a little
But
argument that you could make here, right?
yeah,
Because the cars aren't handling to where you can make those moves. Okay?
well,
So
but the problem is when they do try to get three wide, one lane just stalls out and goes backwards. I mean, if you look at and we'll talk about this coming up, but the Xfinity race and the truck race both had segments of three wide racing
yeah,
throughout the race where you had all three lanes working at multiple moments. But it was just the cup race that they couldn't get that third lane working at all.
I just never really seen them actually put an effort into running that third lane.
Yeah,
You know, the only time I really saw the three wide was when we were going around lap cars,
yeah,
really. But like I said, I was looking up and down a whole bunch, so
yeah. All
maybe I
right.
just didn't see that run coming.
So moving on, we're going to talk about the beef. It's What's for Dinner 300, the Xfinity Series race from Daytona. Um, Pretty exciting race.
Yeah.
With a dramatic finish. Couple of early crashes. You had the four blew up with a motor issue pretty early in the race. Bailey Curry. And then lap 21, Sam Mayer turned the 07 and destroyed the 11 for Colleague Racing. Basically took those two cars out of the race. And Austin Hill wound up winning stage one with some
From the
very,
back.
yeah, from the back with some
Like
very,
the drama happened before the race even started,
yeah,
right? 21 on the pole,
yep,
looking good, defending race winner for
yep,
Xfinity. Can't hear his team, or they
yeah,
couldn't talk. There was something going on with the radio communication. Had to come down pit road. Started in the back. Like, I mean,
yeah, radio issues right off the bat.
yeah, drama before the green flag even
Yep,
started. It was like, oh, okay, all
yeah,
right, this is what we're
but
about.
I
This
mean,
is what we're about to get into.
he battled through all of that and wound up winning the stage.
Yeah,
Just
yep.
some very aggressive moves to win the stage. Um, so into stage two, there was a big crash. The 41 of Parker Kligerman bumps Sheldon Creed, collect like three cars, and Justin Allgaier gets damaged and spins around.
The
From this,
48 of Parker Kligerman.
yeah, the 48 of Parker Kligerman.
You said 41.
Oh well, it was lap 41. That's what I have
Oh,
on my notes.
oh,
My bad. Lap 41, the 48 bumped the two, took out a bunch of cars. The 7 car got some damage, spun out, but that did not stop him because Justin Allgaier rallied back from that crash to win stage number 2. What do you think about that?
Hey, Allgaier is one of my favorites in the Xfinity, so
Yeah,
I mean, kudos, dude. Junior Motorsports showed up at Daytona.
until the end.
It, yeah, well, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
They showed up, and
Yeah, they definitely
I was
did.
happy to see Allgaier, be able to recover and come back up to the front.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Lap 118 of the race. The 9 gets turned. Brandon Jones, late block through the field on his teammate, nonetheless. Late block on his teammate, Rex. And then you get down to the end of this, and the JRM cars, they were all lined up 5 cars in a row. Like
Yeah.
all of them, they were just lined up, and then you had the 9 throw a block, he gets wrecked. And then you've got Josh Berry running out of gas under caution at the end of the race because they didn't pack it full of fuel. And then we had a green white checker finish again for this one. And in this one, Sam Mayer gets turned, flips upside down. Everybody goes crazy. Austin Hill goes to the outside. Justin Allgaier stuck in the middle. He's trying to block, but John Hunter says, "No, I'm avoiding this crash." He goes below the yellow line, and it's just nobody knows who's gonna win this race. They park
For a while.
Yeah, for a while. They parked all 3 of those cars like on the front stretch, and they're like, "We got to figure out when this guy pushed the button." And
The button.
yeah, when was the button pushed?
Yeah.
So like everybody was like, then the broadcast was like, well, if it came out here, then this guy's in the lead. If it was here, this guy wins. But I think it was this guy because that's when the car was flipping upside down, which is when you would have had the caution coming out.
Yeah.
At which point Justin Allgaier would have won, and then John Hunter could have won, and then Austin Hill would have won. And then
see, the thing is with the whole, I don't think John Hunter should have even been in the conversation for winning.
what? Yeah, but they verified
he was below the yellow line.
But he was avoiding a crash, which is technically legal to go down there. Which is that's the gray area where if you're avoiding a crash, you can go down there. Yeah, but to be fair, he was trying to go to the inside of Allgaier because Allgaier left a lane, and then Allgaier kept moving down the track to try to shut him out, and John Hunter just didn't left. We saw Adam said it in the chat. The 11 did the same thing at Talladega a couple years ago. Where there's a crash and he just dove low and just drove around everybody. So it's kind of that weird gray area where like you can go below the line, but you're not supposed to. But if there's a wreck, you can. But it took him forever to actually analyze when this race ended. I remember sitting there. I'm just like, I'm just like, when was the button pushed? Just tell us.
Right.
And they did it. Did eventually release the photo, and they determined Austin Hill had won the race because from the photo that they looked at, his spoiler was like 6 inches ahead of John Hunter's spoiler at the time of when the button was pushed. So Austin Hill.
We know that's when the button got pushed.
Yeah, that's when the button got pushed. So Austin Hill goes back to back in the Daytona season opener. Overall, I thought that Xfinity race was pretty good. What did you think overall of the Xfinity race?
I thought the Xfinity race was better than the damn Daytona 500, which is sad. I mean, it was full of action, which usually the trucks in Xfinity races are full of action.
Yeah.
I didn't. There's one thing maybe I have a question for you. Did you see what Parker Kligerman did to Jeffrey Earnhardt? There was this big thing after the race. Maybe Adam, who's in chat, might know.
I've got that on my notes here. So they were kind of drafting each other, and it was the same type of situation with the 19 and the 23 from the Daytona 500. Where Parker was just pushing Jeffrey Earnhardt and turned him into the outside wall.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was.
All right.
Wait. It was wrong. I was wrong. It was a not clear situation. Oh, okay. Okay, that's what it was. I got those confused because I in my notes I didn't put exactly why. I just wrote that he got put in the wall.
Oh,
So
okay.
I didn't write the actual reason. So according to Adam, it was a not clear situation from Parker
Mm,
Kligerman
yep.
that put Jeffrey Earnhardt in the wall. That's why they were kind of yelling at each other. So
Yeah, I had seen the altercations after the race, and it had seen the interview with Jeffrey Earnhardt where he was like, "Well, he better be okay and better not come near me, or I'm gonna put him back in the infield
yeah.
care center." And I was like, "Ah,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
yeah, Denny, like this is really Denny Hamlin over here. All right,
I'm
yeah,
gonna talk about wrecking everybody, but I'm not gonna actually
yeah."
wreck anybody.
Right, or put him back in the infield care center, but it's all
Yeah.
right, whatever, it's. But I didn't know what that had come from. But other than that question that I had, and thanks Adam for clearing it up.
Yes. Thank you.
I didn't. I thought that it was a very good race because there was racing all over.
Yeah.
I thought that the JRM guys were completely, utterly stupid
Yes.
for
They
not
did
staying
not work as a
together.
team at all at the end of that race.
One of them could have won. Hell, it
Yeah.
could have been a fantastic three wide finish at the end.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that at all. I hate to see what happened to Josh Berry. I think he's going to be pretty strong this year.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I said that in the preseason show that we had. So yeah, but I thought it was a great race.
Yeah. I think that Xfinity race was actually the best race of the weekend.
Yeah, yeah, I could agree with that.
Yeah.
Trucks was pretty good too, though.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I mean,
speaking of truck, let's jump right in and talk about the truck race, shall we?
yeah,
All right. So we had the NextEra Energy 250 at Daytona, and this race, while action packed, was a long one, and not for the right reasons because this was the one race of the weekend that was just plagued by weather delays. It seemed
yeah,
like every time they got going, it would sprinkle, and then they
yeah,
would get going, and then it would sprinkle, and then they'd get going, and you'd have the stage finish, and then it would rain again, and then they eventually wound up calling the race early due to weather and not being able to get the track going. But they gave it their best to try to get that race in that evening. Um, so, like I said, there really wasn't much that happened in the first stage. Like I said, the first stage was very start and stop. We had rain stoppages on lap 2 and lap 7. And with the truck series, it was only a 15 lap stage. Which,
which I think is stupid.
yeah, it was very stupid. So Christian Eckes won stage 1. And as Adam put in the chat here, Hailie Deegan with a P4 finish in the first stage.
He would.
Yeah, he would know. That's his driver. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, stage 1. It was interesting. The racing that we had, I thought was really good. Because with it being just a basic sprint, you had trucks were all over the place. Adam wants to know what's that supposed to mean.
he knows what it means.
Okay. I will leave that between you two. Um,
He doesn't like Haley because of her talent behind the wheel.
I'm gonna need Adam and Trevor to the JT Pit Stop Hauler after the show. Um, but yeah, so Christian Eckes won stage 1. Like I said, it was a very stop and go stage because of the rain. There were no like real incidents or anything like that in that stage. Um, but going into stage 2, there was a big crash. There was a very big crash in stage 2. Clay Greenfield got loose in the middle of the pack, wrecked, and took out a whole bunch of trucks, which led to a red flag for cleanup, at which point it rained during this red flag,
Yeah,
which just increased the delay.
yep.
When they did finally get back going, it was Tyler Ankrum that wound up winning stage number 2. So, what did you think of stage number 2 in the truck race?
It was pretty wet.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it was they
No,
got
that
going. There was a big crash. It took out like let's see, I had like five trucks that got wiped out of that race. One of them being Haley Deegan, in that race. And it
that's where
was
Adam stopped watching.
yeah, it was just it was an unfortunate crash. Clay Greenfield, he's a independent guy. He runs for his own team, and
Yep.
he seemed like he was having a decent run together, and then just lost the handling in the middle of the pack. And
I think didn't that happen like a couple of times in the trucks where like just someone in the middle would get loose?
yes, that happened a lot in this race actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just something weird with the way the trucks were drafting, and I think a lot of it had to do with the cooler weather from just like the rain and there's just the
Yeah.
moisture in the area and just the
Right.
aero itself and just how aggressive that race was because without getting those long runs to really get settled in, everybody was just in go mode the whole time.
Right.
So you had just like these big wakes of air in the pack that were kind of causing all these issues. So they did actually get the race restarted again, for stage three, but they didn't get very far. Um, because there was a big crash from Raja Caruth, who the same type of situation with Clay Greenfield. He just got loose in the middle of the pack, caused a wreck that took out Matt DiBenedetto and some other cars. And at that point, the race was yellow, and then it was red flagged because it started raining after this crash. And then they went back under yellow conditions. They did some pace laps, and then it rained again. And at that point, they're like, all right, we've lost the track. We've been here long enough. We're past halfway. And they officially declared Zane Smith the winner
Right.
of the truck race. So,
Yep.
once again, in the trucks and the Xfinity Series, we had back to back winners from 2022 to 2023. So, um, there really wasn't too much to talk about in that third stage other than the one crash. So, what'd you think of stage three in the truck race? And what'd you think of the truck race overall?
I mean, I think so. I would like to see them get rid of stage racing in the truck series.
Yes.
If anything, go to like a two-stage. You got your first half and your second half,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
I really think with the truck races being 200 to 250 miles at the most for most of those
right.
races.
Like a lot of them are 150 miles, dude.
Yeah.
What
I
are you
just
gonna do with
I
that?
think splitting the race up into thirds like that, you just get all these short runs, which and some tracks it does work, but it does not work at all on the super speedways.
I
So,
don't. I don't see. I mean, dude, that the truck race is almost like the final stage of a cup race.
yeah.
I mean, it's really not worth it. Or like, I think maybe they should do what NASCAR's doing at the road courses with the cup cars. Like,
Just do it with the truck
if you
series.
wanna if you want to keep the points and the playoff points, so that way those people get awarded with it, then
Yeah.
that's wonderful. But
Yeah,
I
cuz
don't
I
feel
mean
like they
like
need
my
cautions with
biggest
that.
issue is when they get to the big tracks, Daytona, Talladega, Pocono, those tracks always wind up with like a 15 lap stage for stage one and two. And then I think like stage three was like 30 laps or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like, it's just a really, really short race because the race
I
is only like 80 laps.
I think our iRacing races are longer than that.
Actually, no, this one
In
was
official.
250 miles. So this one was 100 laps, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, 100 laps. So you're throwing a caution on lap 15, and then you're throwing a caution on lap 60 or 30. Sorry, I did the math wrong there.
Right.
And then you've got a 70 lap final stage. Like it's too short for that type of racing for those
Right.
stages, especially
Yep.
like stage two, right? Because you throw the caution, like stage one goes green.
Mhm.
Was it 2040? 2020 40? Okay. I could have sworn it was 15 laps for stage one this year. Um, but anyway, So stage one goes green. If it goes green the whole way, you get all 15 laps, which is fine. Like all 15 laps is fine. But the moment you get a yellow in that mix, you're taking out like
You ate up half of the
yeah,
race,
half of the stage
half
is
of the
wiped
stage.
out. And then on top of that, you've got the stage break caution at the end of stage one, which
Right.
eats up 4 or 5 laps of stage two. So now if you got a 15 lap stage for stage two, look at that. It's only 10 laps now. It's just another sprint.
Yeah.
And the thing is like you just don't get that time to settle in. So I mean, if they're gonna do these stages, right? They gotta stretch them out a little bit more. Like split the field evenly into thirds, or just don't throw the caution at the stages for the truck series because the races are just too short.
I mean,
Um,
why not extend the fucking races some?
yeah, that too.
I mean, I feel like truck races, like, I get it. It's the entry premier
Well,
NASCAR
so I think
series,
what made it
right?
work is
Like,
like before we had the stages, the truck racing was some of the best out there because you had this
oh
really
yeah.
compact race. They can go out there and race. You had some strategies and these sorts of things. You don't get the strategies that much in the truck series right now. The way the truck series is right now, yeah, we're not going to talk about the caution clock, Adam. The caution clock was like the worst idea NASCAR's ever had. Stages are infinitely better than the caution clock. We're not going back to that dark season. That was bad.
Uh,
Um, but it's just the way the stages work with the truck series, it doesn't work. Because you're just all the truck guys are just go 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 all the time. They never have a chance to settle in, feel out what the truck's doing, and that sort of thing. It's go restart, go restart, go restart. And I think the truck series would benefit from, if this rule about not doing cautions on the road courses is a success, I think bringing that fully into the truck series would drastically help out.
I mean, but I'm with you where you say it helps on certain tracks,
Yes.
that's where it brings in some wonderful racing in the truck series
Yes.
because you do get that I have to go now mentality in that
Right.
truck, right? And people just don't let up and just ride around. That's the one thing I like about the stages all across the board is you're not getting those 500-mile snoozers anymore,
Right.
you know, and it's great, but I don't know. I think that if they're gonna have stages in the truck series, don't count the caution laps.
Mm-hmm.
I I I think that like one thing that could help, period, in the truck series is not counting the caution laps.
Yeah.
We obviously found out that they have the technology to do that at the Clash, so do it in the truck series.
Yeah.
Like make it a thing.
Like I honestly think
Uh,
like if you don't want to like mess around with the stages, you don't want to get rid of the cautions, then I would say like let's make the truck series that old school racing series, and don't count the caution laps. I think that would
but
drastically improve the truck racing a lot. It's definitely going to stretch those races out a lot more, but
yeah,
I don't necessarily think that's like a bad thing. But
I would
I think it
I
would
wouldn't say it's a bad
yeah,
thing. I mean,
I
who
think it
doesn't
would
love watching the truck series, dude?
yeah, I think it would definitely improve the on track product because you're not getting, that 20 laps at Daytona where like 10 of the laps are under caution and the rest of it
Right.
is just a sprint to see who crashes, right?
Yeah.
So,
And it's not like they've run a ton of races at in the trucks anyway. I think they got like
yeah.
what, 26 or something,
Yeah, it's like
25.
26, 25 races, I think.
It's something small. So like, why hinder us when we get the privilege of watching the trucks
Right.
with these short ass
Yeah.
races?
Well,
And
cuz
I mean,
for the longest time you could argue like the truck series was like the best series of the weekend.
yeah, not
Like,
even long ago,
yeah, it wasn't even that long
years
ago.
ago.
The truck
Yeah.
series was the best racing of the weekend. Now it
Hmm.
seems to be the Xfinity series most weekends. Um, but the trucks are suffering right now from these short stages,
Yep.
and I really hope that this not counting laps at the Clash works. This not counting stage cautions. at the stages on the road courses works. And I hope that, they're able to kind of put those together to help make the truck series better than it is now, because it's not that the truck series is bad, but it
No.
can be so much better
Oh
with
yeah.
just a few changes. So
Yeah. Little improvements.
yeah.
You
So
know.
well, the NASCAR season is officially underway now. Um, we're moving out of Daytona and heading out west for the West Coast Swing. Coming up this weekend, we've got the final race.
My birthday.
Yeah, on your birthday. We've got the final race on the 2 Mile Auto Club Speedway. So
Yeah,
Trevor,
it's sad, man.
what are your thoughts on Auto Club being the last race on the 2 Mile Speedway, and who do you think is going to win next weekend?
Dude, that breaks my heart that they're tearing up the 2 miler. I love that track. It's
Yeah,
so much fun. It's such a great racetrack. It's worn out. It puts on good races. It's not too many times you go, oh man, Auto Club was a snoozer.
yeah.
Yeah. It's usually good racing there. Who do I pick? I'm going to go with a California person, and he is not retiring. I'm gonna go with Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson? That's a
That's,
very solid pick. He has had a lot of success at Auto Club Speedway. Won the race there last year.
yep.
So that's a solid pick. I'm going to go a little bit different route. I'm going to pick a guy that's racing for a new team this year that ran really good at the Auto Club Speedway last week. Or last year, I meant. Not last week. Last week was Daytona. But last year, ran really good at the Auto Club Speedway until getting caught up in a wreck. I am going with none other than Tyler Reddick to win Auto Club
Oh,
this
you
week.
went way where I wasn't even expecting you to go.
Yep, I'm going with Tyler Reddick to win. Oh, I took your pick. I'm sorry. But
Adams.
yeah, Adam said I took his pick. But
Yeah.
I've been thinking Tyler Reddick all week. Just he ran so well.
He
Uh,
does do good at those
yeah, he
tracks.
ran so well at Auto Club Speedway last year, and not only that, but towards the tail end of last year, the 2311 cars were some of the best cars out there on the big tracks. You saw them
Yeah.
come out swinging at Las Vegas and Kansas. They were all just class of the field at that point. So I'm going with Tyler Reddick with 2311
Yeah.
Racing.
I was leaning towards Tyler Reddick's old ride.
Kyle Busch.
Yeah. That's where I was leaning towards.
Yeah.
But Kyle Larson is a California native.
Yep.
I could see him going there with a ton of drive. Came fresh off of the Daytona front row. That's
Yep.
momentum. Got wrapped up in a crash, but that's not like a momentum breaker.
No.
Daytona. If that happened at Auto Club, then yeah, I would see that being a momentum breaker.
Right.
But he came out. He came out swinging in the duels. He came out swinging in qualifying. He came out swinging in the race. Was pushing, the 47 to the end, and was there in contention to possibly win the race if everything didn't go the way it went. So
Yeah.
I mean, he's got it coming. And how do you ever count Kyle Larson out of any racetrack,
Oh,
right?
of course.
I mean, so that's why I went with Kyle Larson.
All right.
My second pick would be Kyle Busch or Kevin Harvick, but that's just how it
Well,
goes.
we're only picking one driver. We're not picking three. So.
Well, I mean, I'm not picking three. I picked one. I would say that if
No, I got you.
you get to pick five in the Clint Boyer thing or whatever, or
Yeah.
some fantasy racing shit somewhere. You get five drivers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you could pick five there, but
yeah.
here on the JT Pit Stop, you're only picking one driver and one driver only, but there's no restrictions on who you can pick.
Just because your initial is in front of my initial doesn't mean that I exactly can't do whatever the fuck I want. So
Well, it also comes alphabetically as well.
that's neither here nor there. Okay.
uh,
Some end of the night comedy fun for everybody
oh, of
out there.
course. What would it
Daytona
be?
was a wreck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Daytona was a mess. But it was cool to see Stenhouse win with that JTG Dougherty team. It was also cool
Yeah.
to see repeat winners in the Truck and Xfinity Series with
Yeah,
Zane
and
Smith and
I mean
Austin Hill.
Zane Smith winning the championship, winning Daytona last year, having a great season, winning the championship,
Yep.
then coming out, winning the Truck Series for his team, and I'm pretty sure he made it in the Daytona 500, right?
Yes, Zane was
Yeah.
racing in the
So I
Daytona
mean
500.
he was
It was
he was in there.
Chandler Smith and Austin
Yeah,
Hill
that's right.
that went
Yeah.
home.
Yeah. And then I mean one person that we didn't even mention
Yeah.
in this whole show that was in the Daytona 500 was Jimmy Johnson.
Okay, I did talk about Jimmy Johnson one time when he turned Daniel Suarez.
That was it.
Yeah, that was the only time I mentioned it. But no, Jimmy did great.
Like,
Honestly, to sit out of the car for that many years, first time racing the next gen, he picked it up. He was a natural. Like, no, I don't
right.
think anybody expected him
No. He
to
was
just
a
pick it up as
surprise
good
to
as he
me.
did. But I
I
mean,
was
he was up there in the mix the whole race. Just it was good to see for sure.
Yeah. I had to put that shout out.
Yeah,
I meant to do it back in the 500 segment,
right.
but no, dude. I was quite surprised to see Jimmy running like up in that front group as long as he did,
Yeah,
and like just picked it right up. I think it's going to be good to see him come back, and it
yeah.
might have been a good thing to see him go try the IndyCar stuff. Maybe he picked up some things over there.
hmm
Now he can come back and let's see what he does.
Speaking of Jimmy Johnson, um, he mentioned he's going to be running the Chicago Street Race,
Mhm.
but he also mentioned that we'll see him on track again before Chicago.
Mhm.
What track do you think Jimmy Johnson's going to show up and race again?
I mean, I wouldn't expect. I I I wouldn't be surprised to see him this weekend.
Yeah.
Being from El Cajon, California, right?
hmm
Why wouldn't you go to the last Fontana race? And I'm pretty sure he's got quite a few wins there.
Yeah.
Um, I would expect to see him there.
Yeah.
How many races? It was like 8 or something like that.
Yeah. It was
I
like
think
8 races or something.
I think he'll be at the All Star race because
I
he
mean,
qualified there.
technically he could race as many as he wants to, really.
Right.
But
He
yeah,
owns.
Adam says he's not on the entry list for this week at Auto Club, so
Well,
we won't see him this weekend at Auto Club. I
that's cool.
personally, I think we'll see him at the Coke 600.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure he could do the 5-600 thing.
Yeah,
Whatever you want to call it, the marathon
the double.
or whatever. Yeah, the double, the marathon, whatever. Um, I don't know if he has a ride still in Indy to do that or
Yeah,
not, but I would
I'm
love to
sure he could
watch
get
him.
one if he wanted one.
Yeah, I I see him at all the road courses. I
Yeah,
mean, and Martinsville.
you think he'll race Coda?
Yeah, why not?
Adam says he thinks he's gonna come race Dover.
I mean, yeah, dude, I would too if I
Yeah,
was him. He was like Mr. Dover for what, a couple years. I mean,
almost his entire career he was Mr. Dover.
yeah. Well, I mean, still, yeah. Uh, Dover, Martinsville, for the ovals, I definitely see him in there. But
Neat.
I feel as though he's doing this to get ready for the Le Mans 24 car.
Yes.
And granted, the Le Mans 24 car is gonna have like 50,000 pounds more downforce on it with
Right.
right. I mean, that thing is cool looking. I wish that they would bring that as the road course package. It would
Yeah.
probably make some badass racing,
Oh, for sure.
but that's it was no surprise to see that they that he came back to NASCAR when they brought the Garage 56 car.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how this season plays out, and I'm looking forward to Auto Club this week. Should be a lot of fun.
yes, yeah, I
So
will be watching it with a hangover on Sunday.
we're gonna do a show after the race.
I yeah, yeah,
All right.
yeah. I might. It's a good thing I don't have to like stand like they do on TV,
Yeah.
because after Friday, I probably will have jello legs going riding a snowmobile
Okay.
all day, and then
Well, the good news is you can sit down while you do the show. So
yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Sim, so
just want to thank everybody for tuning in live. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. It's good to see you guys. Hope you guys are enjoying the show, and we'll be back at you as we break down the Auto Club race. So
yeah,
I forget what the name of the race is. It's not the Auto Club 400 this year. It's some casino sponsoring it this year. So I'll get that information to you for next week. So
it's the we're leaving you. See you later. Bye. 400.
yeah,
Is what it is.
we're leaving. We'll see you guys later. All right.
Hey, thanks everybody.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate all of you. Yep.
We'll see you next time. Bye bye.